Welcome to The Rundown. I am your host, Captivating Christian. Here are some of your top stories for today, the 4th of August. The Trump administration is under investigation for insurance and bank fraud. The disclosed came in a federal court filing arguing that Trump should be forced to comply with a subpoena for his tax documents. And Trump's on the attack once again. Trump attacks Dr. Birx in an attempt to keep a loyal soldier in line. And Democrats threaten to retaliate if McConnell's Senate fills a Supreme Court vacancy in an election year. And Detroit area mayor quits after white supremacist remark. And hundreds of employees in Georgia's largest school district excluded from work over coronavirus concerns. And Trump calls for schools to reopen, but Barron Trump won't be attending in-person classes. Let's get to the news. Attorneys for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, Sky Vance, argued on Monday that the President Donald Trump should be forced to comply with a subpoena for his tax documents and suggest that his company was under investigation for alleged insurance and bank fraud. The disclosed in a filed court filing adds new dimension to the battle over the president's financial records. Vance's office subpoenaed the Trump accounting firm Mesna USA in 2019 as part of an investigation into the Trump administration about payments to two women who had alleged had affairs with the president, which he has denied. But in this latest filing suggested by Vance, the probe goes extensively far beyond the hush money payments. Trump's lawyers filed an amended lawsuit just last week saying that Vance's subpoena for tax documents from the president's tax preparer was overboard and was brought in bad faith. The new suit followed a decision by the Supreme Court last month that said that the president is not immune from grand jury subpoenas while in office. In a motion dismissed, filed in federal court on Monday, Vance's office said that the claims in Trump's second lawsuit were recycled in making the case that the subpoena was issued properly. The prosecutors referred to the public reports of possibly extensive and protracted criminal conduct at the Trump Organization. In light of these public reports of possible extensive and protracted criminal conduct at the Trump Organization, there was nothing falsely improper or practically unusual about the Mesna subpoena, which was issued in connection with a complex financial investigation. The Trump Organization did not immediately return a request for comment. Here's a part of my commentary where I talk about the stories for this afternoon's broadcast. So the first one, of course, is the Trump administration yet again in the news, involving, of course, they've been in court battling their actions with giving money to two women who allegedly had affairs with Donald Trump to kind of keep them quiet before the election. But also the Attorney General of New York and that department is going further past that into possible bank fraud and other corruptive charges, bank fraud and insurance fraud. The president seems to think that, of course, Article 2 secures him from being investigated. But the Supreme Court recently just told him, basically in layman's terms, no, you cannot use the office of the presidency to not answer subpoenas. He has to answer the subpoena. So it's a possibility that the New York District Attorney's Office will be the one to get to his financial records and really do some digging. So we'll see how this goes. I'm sure that Trump's lawyers will file an appeal to see if they can buy more time. But if not, there'll be some records dropping soon. So we'll see. President Donald Trump attacked Dr. Deborah Birx for the first time on Monday after the White House Coronavirus Task Force coordinator said that she believed that the virus was entering a new phase and that counties with significant community spread should not reopen schools in the fall. Birx's comments came on CNN just 2 days after the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, criticized her in a meeting with administration officials, calling her the worst. One Democratic official aide said that Pelosi was referring to Birx's apparent deference to the president's inaccurate statement about the virus, including the ingestion of bleach should be studied as a possible cure. Alright, so once again here we have President Donald Trump doing what people claim he does best, but at this point it is causing the lives of its citizens, just so you're not trying to have the real reporting from the actual experts give their actual factual opinions on where the virus may be headed as far as the direction if we're not following the guidelines. He wants to quiet people because he wants everybody to think that everything's great and we're controlling the virus, which is so far from the actual truth. So at this point, you're willing to kill people or infect citizens just to ensure the appearance of looking great. That has a lot to say about the person actually in the White House. That's all I have to say about that. Senate Democrats are alerting the GOP counterparts that any attempt to try and fill a possible vacancy on the U.S. Supreme Court before the presidential election will be met with consequences, with Democrats eyeing a chance of taking control of the upper chamber of Congress. Several sitting senators told NBC News that they would be open to a constructural reform, including packing the courts if Republicans were to fill any vacancies in the high courts in an election year. At the heart of the conflict is the way the Senate Republicans prevented President then Barack Obama, his Supreme Court nominee, Merrick Garland, from getting a hearing back in 2016. Obama nominated Garland on March 16, 2016, more than 9 months ahead of the year's election, but Republicans refused to consider his candidacy, with many declining to even meet with him. In stopping the nomination from going forward, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell famously reasoned that the American people should have a say in the court's direction. Alright, now with this particular story, this one, all of them will be the most one that I will be watching, because I would like to see if in fact the Senate Democrats have the muster, even with the backing maybe of some Republican senators, have the backing to stop, if God forbid, a seat is available on the Supreme Court, and then Mitch McConnell pushes forward to fill that vacancy. Unfortunately, in recent weeks and days, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has been in and out of the hospital for different treatments, so on and so forth. So I myself have been very, very nervous about that, because then that would definitely give the conservative section of the court, they already have high numbers, but that would definitely just send it over the top and confirm their legitimate, strictly conservative rulings across the board. So I've been praying for Ruth Bader Ginsburg all day, every day, all the time. But, it happens. These are lifetime appointments, and we never know what may happen. Some justices have stepped down and retired. Others, stay for life. However, Senate Republicans have been trying to fill the federal portion of the courts with Republicans, whether they were suitable for the job or not, just the fact that they were Republican, they were still filling the federal court levels with federal conservative judges. So they're trying to stack it as much as they can to, if in fact Trump loses and Biden wins, then he will have a hard time pushing his agenda forward. Kind of the same thing that they did to Obama. So I think they're setting up for that. And hopefully the Senate Democrats can get some Republicans on their side and block it, because it isn't fair. If in fact the seat does come up, if you blocked Obama from filling his seat because you said it was an election year, then by God, it's the same thing. So then you should not be able to fill that seat. You should let the people fill that seat, as you said. So we'll see how this goes, but I'm pretty sure Mitch McConnell's a liar and he will try to fill the seat, and he wouldn't even act like he said any of that a couple years ago in 2016. He'll act like he never said it, I'm sure. So we'll see how this goes, but this is going to be a good one. A mayor in suburban Detroit resigned on Friday after he was accused of saying he understood why white people become white supremacists. Ken Poynter, who is white, has been under fire since making the remarks in a private meeting with residents of Harperswood officials. The small city has been targeted by protesters who want information about the June death of a black woman who was in jail after a drug arrest. During the meeting about civil unrest, Poynter said he understood why white people would become white supremacists, according to people who were present, including the local school superintendent and acting city manager. They said he later apologized. Unfortunately, recent comments made by the former Mayor Poynter, did not and do not reflect the values and belief of the city administration, business leaders, and its residents of the city of Harperswood. State police, meanwhile, are investigating the jail death of Felicia Slater. Protesters in June had confronted Poynter, who responded by saying outside agitators made a really good, peaceful, integrated community look really bad. Okay, this particular story is a bit, as a public official, I think you should already be aware of, the do's and don'ts and the things you need to say and not say off color. Everybody's not, even the fact that the president gets to say the off color comments that he does and not receive any retribution is unfortunate and sad. But it's even sadder that the lower level officials feel that they are just emboldened to say the same things and get a pass, and it's not possible. So I think him stepping down is something he should do. The problem for me is that these things are said in private and everything's okay. It's once it's a private conversation that comes to public light because somebody in the group went and told the conversation, then all of a sudden we are calling for, the person to resign and so on and so forth. But the problem is that the conversation in private should not even be had. As a public official, you should have, better coof than to say things like that, say off-color comments like that, with the comfort that, everybody here looks like me and nobody's going to tell, we're all going to keep this amongst ourselves. And here you have, evidence that everybody does not, feel the way you feel and agree with your sentiment. So therefore, you should have kept your sentiment to yourself and you probably would have been able to keep your job. More than 250 employees in one of Georgia's school districts are currently not working due to the positive coronavirus test or exposure to those infected. CNN reported on Monday that about 260 employees of the Gwinnett County School District, Georgia's largest school district, will not be returning to work for at least several days due to the potential exposure to the virus or a positive diagnosis of COVID-19. As of last Thursday, there's been approximately 260 employees who have been excluded from work due to a positive case or contact with a case. This number is fluid as we continue to have new reports and others who are returning to work, a spokesman told CNN. Gwinnett County, the state's second most populous, encompasses a large area surrounding Lawrenceville and has reported at least 18,000 confirmed cases of coronavirus, which is just behind Fulton County. The Georgia health officials have seen a rate of new infections explode in recent weeks, though the state has been able to stop the 7-day average of new cases from passing 3,500 per day after weeks of rating rising sharply. County has moved, however, to suspend plans to return to in-person learning for schools in the fall due to the concerns of the rising COVID-19 cases and numbers, prompting protests from some parents. All right, so here we are back in Georgia dealing with school reopening. This large school district in Georgia has a lot of employees that are either tested positive for coronavirus or exposed to someone who's been infected. So, of course, there is a concern that people with opening schools, that either children can get infected or or carry the infection on to teachers and other staff members and vice versa. And it's too great a risk to do what when you can have other options like remote learning and other things. You can find other opportunities. Take some of that money and find other ways to do it. I don't know what the push is to get kids in school. It's something. It must be something either with some kind of mass vaccine or something they want to test in the food, or it is something. There's a reason to why there is this push to put kids in school, and it's not just about kids being home and their parents need to find somewhere for them to be. It's something greater, something to do with either schools functioning or working in order brings money somewhere. There's money being deposited somewhere, and these people, as far as the Secretary of Education, Trump himself, and other people pushing for it, there is something involving the nation's schools that they get money for, and they are pushing these kids to get into school, not for learning, but definitely so they get some checks somewhere. Either it's a lobbyist, it is something, and eventually I'm sure it'll come out. But I just feel like that's totally crazy. They should definitely stick to remote learning, because that's where they need to be, remotely learning. President Donald Trump tweeted on Monday morning that the nation should open its schools up amidst the coronavirus pandemic, but his son Barron Trump won't be attending in-person classes when schools come around this fall. After months of the president has advocated for reopening the country despite the climbing numbers of coronavirus cases and deaths, Trump has said that the U.S. is seeing an increased number of cases because of more routine testing. His tweet prompted swift backlash, with people pointing out that his own son won't be attending in-person classes. Barron Trump private school announced that on Friday that students would attend only online classes until at least October, according to the Times. In October, the school will reassess and determine whether it will begin in-person learning classes. And with this last story, this is my largest problem with the Republican Party as a whole. Okay, so they're always pushing for things that they themselves do not include their family members in. And this is a prime example. Republicans are always talking about, America and showing their force and always quick to go to war or be a wartime president. They're always, that is something they hang their hat on. But you notice that their loved ones and their, family members, daughters, sons, nieces, nephews, or whatever, they do not participate in wars or anything of that nature. They'll send, the average American family to go to war to fight for their principles and their privilege. So here we have a coronavirus pandemic. You're screaming for schools to open up, for these children to go back to school, for teachers to teach, for school officials to go in and work amongst this pandemic with no evidence, with no guidelines, with very little structure of how to keep everyone safe, right? Because you could barely keep the country safe as it is, but you think you can keep students and the teacher safe, and so on and so forth, right? So moving past that, here you have your own son who attends private school, and their school is doing remote learning until October or further notice, really. So he can do remote learning, but you want everybody else who is, not of your stature as far as economically to send their kids to school. So your child is definitely far more important than a lot of Americans feel that their child is. No, their child is just as important. And just like your child can remote learn from the White House or wherever he may be while he's learning, then you should give that same option to those parents who are just as concerned about the care for their child. So they should be able to have remote learning as an option. If it's not an option, it should just be a mandate, just like you're mandating schools to be open. And again, use that money, allocate some of that funds to give the parents the resources so they can have their children remotely learning from home and be safer than be in a school environment around other students who may be infected, or teachers or other school officials that could be bringing it back home to their families and causing more harm. So the best option is, if you're going to have your son remotely learn from the White House, then everybody's child should be remotely learning from their homes as well. Once again, thank you for watching CCN Midday News. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also hit that notification button so you will never miss another news update. Have a great day. Peace.